Hey everybody, it's Dalton out here at the lake covering some water. I just got here a little bit ago. It's around 10 o'clock in the morning, and I got my first one here on a crankbait, a rock crawler. And like I say, I'm just covering a lot of water. These fish get spread out this time of year, and I figured the more water I cover, the better chance I have of actually catching a few of them. So I was out here the day before yesterday. It was pretty tough. I caught really small fish, like 6-inch, little 6-inch bass. This one here is a little bit better than what I was catching out here the other day. So I'm just gonna crank along this area until I find maybe a group of them. Right now I'm just kind of catching individuals. This is a good one here. A really good one here. Good spotted bass. Went to a bait I wasn't 100% was gonna work, but it did. Got me a nice, probably 2-pounder here. Now that'll kind of make the day better. I caught one on a crankbait, getting some crankbait bites over there. Nailed this guy on a bait I wasn't even sure was going to work. I'm going to show you. I've talked about the 3.5-inch Strike King coffee tube. I got a 3/8 ounce weight in there, 8-pound test line, and I'm just scooting it along the bottom. I didn't really feel that bite. It was more of a pressure bite. He just said put some weight on it, and I set the hook, and it was an excellent hook set right in the roof of the mouth. Nice 2-something pound spotted bass. I'll take it. Yeah, I ran across a couple of guys out here that came in from LA. We had not met. They're subscribers. I had great conversation with them. They got a really nice boat, nice setup. And like I've said before, you know, if you guys are out here, come by and say hi. Let's chat a little while. I love that. Got another rock crawler bass here. He came up, I think he came up from the bottom and hit it, because I wasn't tapping any rocks or actually hitting anything. I was just about ready to start bringing it up. He's not very big, but he's a bass this time of the year where fishing can be a little bit tough because of the way they spread out. They could be right up here shallow. This one here was probably around, what is this, about 7-8 foot. They could be way out there. And the ones way out there, about a week ago, I got them on big spinnerbait. Well, it actually wasn't even a week ago, a big spinnerbait. What was it, a fluke? It was the last video. And they were out really deep. They were in deep water, but they were up high. So as long as I keep something up around where they were, I was getting some bites. So today it's just about covering water. Just cover water with this crankbait. If I see a little group of them or whatever, I'll drop a drop shot on them, or I'll throw that tube back at them, or maybe even a jig. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. Had about 3 hours to fish. Caught a few fish, a lot better than it was the day before yesterday. I got rained on pretty good the day before yesterday, and I was doing some deep fishing with little or no success. And so today I really concentrated more on shallow water. Basically the bank line out to about 15 feet is pretty much what I fished today. There were 2 baits, even though I had some other stuff tied on. I didn't get any on a drop shot or a jig. The big spinner bait didn't work because it just didn't generate enough, just not enough wind today. So what I did was I just simply concentrated on, you know, covering water with a crankbait. This is the rock crawler. Today I used the white color. There was literally, in some of the areas out here, there was a ton of bait fish. They were up under the surface. They were huge, just thousands of them. They were all over the place. And those fish get in there and they eat them, and it's kind of hard to get those fish to see anything I'm throwing. So I kind of got away from that, just kind of covered some water along the edges of rocks like this, working this crankbait. There was less bait fish over there, so I felt like they'd have a better chance to see it, give me a little better chance to catch some. So this paid off pretty good today. I throw this on 12-pound test. Now the key to this for me, when I'm fishing it, I reel it down real fast, and I wait till it starts hitting rocks. And when it starts hitting rocks, I just start reeling slow. And basically what it does, it kind of hunts. It just bounces off those rocks, gets real erratic, good for a reaction bite, and it looks like it's hunting. So that's how I fish this thing. Most of the time, that's how I catch most of my fish with it. The other thing that I didn't catch a lot with this today, but I can tell you right now, I think this is going to be a player as these bass start to go more toward the bottom. Some of the biggest fish that I've caught out here, in fact, I've caught 2 spotted bass out here that were both 5 pounds. And both of them were caught on a Strike King coffee tube. This one here is green pumpkin on one side and blue on the other. I've got a 3/8 ounce weight in there, or jig head. What happened is that I ran out of the goby heads, which I like to use. So I have some Strike King ball head, shaky head jigs. And I just put that there, and this worked out pretty good. In fact, I got a nice one over 2 pounds. And what I do with this thing, and I've done some videos on it, I usually use about 8 or 10 pound tests. Today I just went with 8 pound tests. Got to give this thing a second to sink to the bottom. And when I'm doing this, it's called cracking a tube. So when I'm cracking a tube, I'm pretty much always going to use a spinning rod. And let's see, get to the bottom, and I'll show you guys what I mean about cracking a tube. This particular technique can produce some pretty good sized bass. I don't know what it is about this tube, but if I can get it in front of a bigger spotted bass, they'll typically take it. So there it is on the bottom. Cracking a tube, you'll see the slack in my braid, is to take the tube like this, and see how I do all that slack? This is cracking a tube. I'm not moving it as far as you think, maybe just an inch to 3 inches at a time. But what happens when I'm tapping that slack, the appendages on that Strike King are so good that it flares. Okay, and that's the action I'm looking for. I do this all the way back, pretty much to the boat. If there's a certain area where I know they are, I'll just stay in that strike zone. Once I'm out of there, I'll reel it in, throw it back. But this is cracking a tube. I can cover a lot of water with it. I'll use it on flats. I'll use it in deep water. The only place I don't use this technique is around the rocks. It'll get hung up because of that exposed hook and that heavy head in there. But like I say, I've caught some of the biggest bass I've caught out here as far as spotted bass on these 3.5 inch tubes. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll be coming back out next week. My wife and I are getting ready to do a video for you guys on the starting of this channel, and hopefully I'll get her back out here this next weekend. She hasn't been out in a while. I really appreciate you all. Thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed, I thank you if you would. I'll be talking to you next time.